took it?
No, I'm trying to do what I can.
Yes, you're doing shit on. That's what you're doing. You're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. You're doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, well.
The anger was intense because the stakes were so high. 20 years ago, when the federal government closed down Newfoundland's cod fishery, it ripped the economic heart out of the province. But more than that, it threatened a way of life and the very soul of Newfoundland. Tonight, Rex Murphy looks back at those traumatic days and examines the aftermath for this island that we cling to.
Since it's going to the mainland, I got to make sure it's tuned right. Just to wake up in the morning to the quiet of the cove and hear Aunt Bessie talking to herself.
This boat here? Yeah, well, my father started this here in 1949, over 60 years old, I suppose. Yeah. He done it in bits and pieces, eh? He'd do so much this year and he'd go get busy, go fishing, and then next year he started again, do it over again. That's the way he done it like that over the years.
And to hear poor Uncle John mumbling wishes to all now, it made me feel like everything was fine.
It's all gone, but it's all worn out.
I was born down by the water, it's here I'm gonna stay. Search for all the reasons why I should go away, but I haven't got the thirst for all those modern day toys, so I'll just take my chances with those saltwater joys.
It began here over 500 years ago now, 1497. And it's been 4 centuries and 95 years since that Newfoundlanders for the first time were forbidden to take fish from the sea. It was called the moratorium. Moratorium is a complicated word meaning goodbye. The 20 years since the moratorium have been a long, uncertain, painful farewell.
Thursday, July 2nd. Tonight on The National. Anger over the shutdown of the cod fishery.
6 generations down the line passed down, and he's done nothing but S-H-I-T to us.
And with that, fishermen stormed the doors of John Crosby's news conference.
Get out of the way.
Mr. Crosby, this situation
it's not my fault either.
No,
But
it's
I'm
the
trying to do the
government's
best I can.
mismanagement.
This is the way I like down here. Are you a Newfoundlander or is that
To John Crosby, then Federal Minister of Fisheries, fell the burden of announcing the moratorium in 1992.
I'm making a decision based on the desire to ensure that the northern cod survives as a species.
I'm doing all we can.
The second biggest story since Confederation, the greatest cultural shock to Newfoundland ever.
To hear that the cod fishery had closed was almost something that you couldn't wrap your mind around.
But Newfoundland Premier Cathy Dunderdale is Outport born and Outport knowledgeable.
We've done that in Bjorn.
She lived the moratorium in its impact on her hometown of Buren, the historic South Coast fishing village. She saw firsthand how it ripped people's lives.
You know, they've worked towards something all of their lives. And I always go back to when the fishery was doing fairly well, back in the 60s, 70s, and so on. And young people left school. As soon as they turned 16, it was legal to leave school. There was a labor demand in the fish plants and so on, and people went out, they were making good livings.
Yeah, they were.
And you know, governments were complicit in that, in allowing all of that to happen.
There's no need to abuse me.
I'm not abusing you. I didn't abuse you.
I didn't take the fish from the goddamn water.
Well, who took it? You and your goddamn people took it. You and your people took it.
No, I'm trying to do what I can.
Yes, you're doing shit on. That's what you're doing. You're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. You're doing absolutely nothing.
The iconic John Crosby.
Here I am.
From a family famed over generations for its connections with the Newfoundland fishery and politics.
In my 27 years in politics, it was certainly the worst year that I spent, and the most difficult and the most heart-rendering.
In the splendid autumn of his public life, John Crosby has surrendered none of his sense of mischief. He's Lieutenant Governor of Newfoundland now, but proudly banners a sealskin vest and a sealskin bow tie. Mementos of that historic other fishery, now near gone. As he recalls the graver moments, the anxieties and angers at the announcement of the moratorium of the greatest fishery of them all, the cod.
I mean, I would never have done this, being from Newfoundland, and my family in the fish business for 100 years as well, and knowing how important it was to Newfoundland and Atlantic Canada, and but there was absolutely no choice.
There's no cod out there. How come we didn't bring in interim support for fishing families so that we didn't have to go and show the color of our goddamn underwear to every Tom, Dick, and Harry out to social services for $522? That's what we got, $522. I am $2,000 behind. We're about to lose our car. You know, it's just not good enough. All these people are in the same condition.
Right on.
You know?
How much of a decision was it for you to say, I'm going out personally, I'm going out myself, and I'm going down there and I'm going to announce this out loud to the people concerned?
I had no choice. I was a member for the district. I certainly couldn't avoid going down to the biggest fishing plant area in my district and not answering the questions of the crowd or coming before them. You know, that as a member of the district, I would be ashamed ever to go down there again if I hadn't done that. I knew they were out to hang me, and so my attitude has always been attack is the best form of defense.
Now we got nothing for 2 months, starving.
If you show angry people that you're afraid or you're frightened by them, then you've had it.
All draggers must go. 40,000 Newfoundlanders lost their livelihood overnight. The largest mass layoff in Canadian history, the equivalent of more than 700,000 out of work in a heartbeat in Ontario. The anger here was palatable.
Jesus! If you close a fish plant, for example, in my own district of St. John's West in Trepassey, where 500 were employed, there just wasn't and isn't now any alternative employment for them. That means that they're going to be off work and maybe forever.
We talked it over some late nights and decided that we'd both make the move. So we both gave up our jobs and decided to try to see if we could make a go of it.
Fishing was in my blood. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Bill Broderick, fisherman, man of the water, lived and worked through the dreadful moratorium and the swirl of emotions it brought on. His family had fished for generations. The brothers Bill and Dan left for a while, but came back when prices were high and catches good. In 1984, CBC's Land and Sea followed them at work.
If you can trap a couple of 100,000, that's pretty well the goal of it.
Less than a decade later, the moratorium came in, the Brodericks stopped fishing, and the ban, announced for 2 years, lasted 20.
It's like when people tell you you have some, bad disease that's going to kill you. A lot of times people, you go into denial, you go into shock, you go into a lot of things. And that's what we all went into. And none of us believed that it was the end. It's easy now, I suppose, to look back at it, but at the time, I guess that, there was anger there was all kinds of blame, pointing fingers at gill nets and offshore and foreigners and all kinds of scientists, all kinds of stuff. None of us thought that it could happen. I suppose that's the big thing. None of us thought it could happen, and then when it did happen, well, this can't be for long. They'll get this right, and we'll be back to doing what we've done, right? And I guess it took 2 or 3 or 4 years before it started to dawn on us that this ain't coming back.
One of the keenly cherished bounties of the Newfoundland fishery is the prodigal art it has inspired. The songs and stories, the paintings and plays, what a harvest of image and melody. The ambition of today's artist is to catch something of the essence of traditional Newfoundland before it vanishes. To paint scenes, be they ever so real, that are no more. Well, what's the scene I'm looking at here?
This was a community. It doesn't exist now. This was a community called Step Aside, which is...
Step Aside?
Step Aside. And it was one of the, as the fishery died, it was one of those communities that ceased to exist. Okay.
Accomplished artist, observer Ed Roach has been watching a slow disappearance of traditional Newfoundland scenes for over 20 years. He's turned his time and his talent to capturing on canvas what is about to disappear and vanish.
Almost every community had a section of the community where the boats had been pulled up, and all of these started to rot.
I saw.
And it looked like graveyards. It looked like places where people took old boats to dive. There was a certain security in going into all of these quiet little communities with their motorboats and their families and all the fishing sheds. It was predictable. And it was who we were. And you knew when this happened that this was going to be the end of a lot of these communities. If you went there and looked at this today,
yeah.
Now this would have been probably in 1920s. Today, this is what it looks like.
That's what it looks like today?
That's it today.
Dear Lord.
It's been abandoned.
Not a thing?
Nothing. Every bit of it gone.
It ruined the community. It ruined the community.
Ben Hiscock of Champneys East, Trinity Bight, has lived the last 20 years as a witness. He has seen the changes, watched the great outmigration.
When we had all the fishing was here, you come over here in the morning. There'd be 20 men, 30 men. Come over in the evening, same thing. Now you come over, there's nobody.
This island that we cling to has been handed down with pride.
The community is going to go, it can't survive. Unless they can catch something to turn it around. They can't see what can come to turn it around. They can't see. No.
I'll stay, take my chances with those saltwater joys.
Rex Murphy, CBC News, Trinity, Newfoundland.